been quite the day, hasn't it? If you watch the Kavanaugh hearings, there is a good chance that for one reason or another you believe that America is broken, that we're in a dark and dangerous time, and perhaps we are. We'll discuss the Colorado connections with today's testimony, but this half hour is intended not to further drive division and anger. So we'll have your Colorado moment of Zen. We'll continue our search for the smartest kid in our state. We'll celebrate the good ones. And more than anything, we'll prove that the news is more than just the ugliest thing that happened today. Let's get started. This is next.
When you're homeless, you carry your house with you.
Denver swings and misses on one solution to make life on the streets easier. Let's look at what's next. And we'll go up to the high country where firefighters say no helipad, no problem. We'll meet bus drivers who dug into their own wallets to make today unforgettable for one student. Let's truth test an ad that says tourists out of state will pay for our road repairs. And let's talk about balancing believing victims with the presumption of innocence. When you start by believing an alleged victim, does that mean that you are starting by believing that the accused is guilty? And let's step back for a moment of peace, Colorado style, on a tumultuous day. Next. We're not going to rehash what you just saw about the Kavanaugh Supreme Court nomination hearing on NBC Nightly News. Though today we heard Kavanaugh speak directly at length for the first time, refuting the sexual misconduct allegations made by a Coloradan. If you missed that, I would like you to hear what he said, because you've certainly heard Debbie Ramirez's claims here. Kavanaugh was in the final minutes of hours of testimony when this happened. That followed hours of testimony by Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, who says that Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her in high school. Kavanaugh was asked by his final Senate questioner, Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, to say once and for all, before God, whether the allegations were true. Kavanaugh first denied Ford's allegations, and then Senator Kennedy asked him about the claims by Debbie Ramirez from Boulder.
Ms. Ramirez's allegations about you true?
Those are not. None of the witnesses in the room support that. If that had happened, that would have been the talk of campus in our freshman dorm. The New York Times reported that as recently as last week, she was calling other classmates seeking to, well, I'm not going to characterize it, but calling classmates last week, and just seemed very, I'll just stop there. But it's not true. It's not true.
Senate Republicans are expected to move Kavanaugh's nomination out of committee tomorrow, though there's still an open question about whether they have the votes that they need in the full Senate. There's never been a doubt that Colorado's Democratic Senator Michael Bennet was a no vote on Kavanaugh, and Colorado's Republican Senator Cory Gardner is a yes vote on Kavanaugh. Bennet, just about 3 minutes ago, sent out a statement echoing Senate Democrats' call for a pause and an FBI investigation. Radio silence from Senator Gardner. Believe women. We have heard that said a lot this week. Denver Police is one of a number of agencies that participate in a national campaign called Start by Believing. Full disclosure, I participated in a PSA project on this 3 years ago. And today I sat down with DPD Division Chief Joe Montoya to hear how his investigators balance believing victims with preserving the presumption of innocence for the accused.
Start by believing, and from a law enforcement standpoint, is something that we've always embraced, not only with sex crimes, but with any kind of report that we get. You're a fact finder. You go out and you start by believing what the person is telling you. And then you let the investigation and all the fact finding things that you do build upon that initial information to determine what you have.
When you start by believing an alleged victim, does that mean that you are starting by believing that the accused is guilty?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It means that we give credibility to what the victim is telling us at that time, because we want them to feel free to give us the story. The more facts we have, the better investigation that we can do.
The Start by Believing campaign extends to the community, to civilians. It reminds all of us that we may be the only person who hears someone's claim of abuse or neglect. It asks everybody not to discourage potential victims if they want to tell their stories.
We can't have that mindset. It does no good for the community to foster an environment where people are afraid to come forward with that kind of information because if a victim truly is afraid to come forward because they feel they're gonna meet barriers within their own support base or their friends, they're not going to report, and they're going to carry that with them their entire lives. And the trauma is never healed until you get some sort of treatment for it. So you never know where that's going to lead somebody, and it just leads to a more unhealthy society in general.
Do you encounter a lot of false sexual misconduct claims?
It's very infrequent, very infrequent.
Are you confident in your ability to suss those out?
We are very, very confident.
In Denver, sexual assault claims go through what they call a dual review process when prosecutors are deciding whether or not to bring a case. So there's two sets of eyes looking at it, making the decision. And people who are making a claim of sexual assault, they're eligible for victim services even if there is no prosecution. You can see my entire conversation with the division chief on the next YouTube channel. A new political ad wants you to believe that tourists are going to pay for our road repairs if you vote for Proposition 110. Our politics guy, Marshall Zellinger, explains how Let's Go Colorado conveniently leaves out that you'll be paying that same tax increase.
Remember 1991? George Bush was president? No, the other one.
This ad about road transportation funding takes us on a history lesson.
1991 was also the last time we raised taxes for transportation. Since then, our population has doubled.
We need to take this in two parts because it's yes and no. Yes, 1991 is the last time Colorado increased the state gas tax. It's actually only been increased 8 times since 1933. For every gallon you pump, 22 cents is the state gas tax, and 18 cents is the federal gas tax, which go toward roads. As for our population, no, it has not doubled since 1991. We're about 1 million people shy of that.
But let's stop Let's Go Colorado. Proposition 110 is not about raising the gas tax. It's about raising the state sales tax. And you don't say that anywhere in the 2 ads you've produced.
110 will fund over 100 projects statewide.
I see Texas. There's California.
And when you vote yes on 110, those tourists will help pay to fix our roads and improve our transportation system all across the state.
Yes, passing 110 will help pay for road projects statewide. And those projects will be paid for because the state sales tax will increase for all of us, not just tourists. Since 2001, the state sales tax on items you buy has been set at 2.9%. If you vote yes on 110, it will increase to 3.52% for the next 20 years. That means for every $5 coffee you buy, you'd pay 3 extra cents. For every $100 you spend, that's 60 cents more.
There sure are a lot of Texas.
So vote yes on 110 and smile next time you see an out-of-state plate.
If you approve this, the money from the higher sales tax would be split between CDOT projects, local government needs, even bike paths and transit. See, I'm smiling. Even though the ad points out we haven't raised the state gas tax since 1991, Kyle, in 2009, the legislature passed FASTER, fees for when you register your car or rent a car. Well, that helped fund road and bridge repairs.
This is crafty, though, Marshall. They, out-of-state plates, they know how to poke people in the feels. Yeah, and there's a smiley. How about that? All right. Thank you, Marshall. Denver's pilot program to provide lockers for people who are homeless, it's not working. The need, though, is just as strong as when we told you about the launch of the program last year. What is needed also is a new method. Arnold Brennan has that story.
Those who carry all they own.
Well, when you're homeless, you carry your house with you.
Need a safe space to store it.
Yes, the need is there.
Denver Homeless Out Loud is pretty sure this wasn't the solution. 10 big storage lockers outside the Denver Rescue Mission cost the city $30,000.
Some of our discussion was like, well, we can build stuff for cheaper than that.
Denver Human Services agrees the pilot program didn't work.
The units were being burglarized, broken into, locks breaking off. Some folks were not keeping them locked, which was a condition of the user agreement. The biggest concern for us was really that someone was going to get inside of this unit, sleep, and maybe pass away.
The city pulled the program as work continues on different sized solutions.
The city spent several $1,000s on their locker solutions, and ours cost $80.
Sexy Pizza worked with Denver Homeless Out Loud to put in 4 gym-sized lockers outside the restaurant in Cap Hill.
And they need a place to store their belongings. They need a place so that they don't take the shame and the stigma of being homeless with them into the workplace by having their survival gear with them.
Sexy Pizza's Kayvon Kalatbari, who's also running for mayor, talks politics as well as pizza now. But 10 years ago, he could have used one of those lockers.
I slept in a tent in the backyard of a house for 3 months, in my truck for another month, and on a buddy's floor in Cap Hill for another 4 or 5 months.
A story familiar to those on the streets who still need a place for all their stuff. For Next, I'm Noel Brennan.
Denver Human Services says it's considering moving those large storage lockers to a nonprofit that deals with job placement. And Denver Homeless Out Loud has a $15,000 grant so they can expand that locker program from the one pizza shop to some other businesses. The most Colorado thing we saw today is the improvisational effort of aerial firefighters up near McCoy. Clearly not their first rodeo, though we're not sure if it's the first time the rodeo ring has been used as their helipad. The Bond Rodeo Grounds, home base for firefighters working the Black Mountain Fire. Britta Fisher sent this to us. Britta Horn, rather. She's the chief for Rock Creek Volunteer Fire. She's also the Rock County Treasurer. Oh, hey, the Black Mountain Fire, it has been contained, we should mention. 1 acre, lightning sparked. This is usually the part of the program where I offer commentary on this or that, but I am thinking that we are fully stocked on people arguing today. So instead, how about a moment of Colorado-style quiet? Let's go to Aspen for a moment. Oh, I feel like we could do that every day, couldn't we? When Next returns, more reason to believe in the good in the world and in our state from a young person in our community who's about to have quite the national platform. Kathy, thank you. Our ongoing search for the smartest kid in Colorado led us to Malachi Haynes. Malachi grew up in Denver, graduated from the IB program at George Washington, and you're looking at the face of the 4 million kids in America's Boys and Girls Club. With that national honor comes a bunch of speaking gigs and opportunities, along with a $100,000 college scholarship. Malachi is a freshman at CSU. He's working to become the first in his family to get a 4-year university degree. Malachi Haynes, you will be seeing the face. Remember the name. School years are a tough time to be on the outside looking in, which makes what 2 school employees did for 1 kid so incredibly meaningful. And we're also going to sit down with a Coloradan who used to be an NFL official for his thoughts on a changing game. Next. The usual newscasts, they tend to be full of public servants who've gotten in trouble for this or for that. And you might just be deceived into thinking that that's the bulk of them. Of course, it is not, which is why we enjoy reminding you here that most public servants just work every day, don't make headlines. They are, as we say, the good ones, and they're almost all good ones. People like Kelly and Salam drive school bus for the Cherry Creek School District. Kelly and Salam specifically drive that guy, Alexander Krieges. He goes to Greenwood Elementary School. He has special needs. Kelly and Salam pick him up every morning, drop him off every afternoon. Usually, though, not like this. But this is Alexander's 10th birthday. So they decorated the whole bus as a rolling party to take him to school. Paid for it out of their own pockets. That's news. The NFL is just not the same these days. You'll hear people say that. People who say it for the worse and for the better. A viewer named Dana emailed us encouraging us to get the perspective of retired NFL officials who live in Colorado. We'd like you to meet Bill. Bill was a running back at CSU, then spent 28 years calling NFL games, including a Super Bowl, before retiring 2 years ago. Today, he joined us for some reflections.
My name's Bill Schmitz. I officiated football in the NFL on the field from 1989 through 2010. That's me, and that's my friend Tom Finken. That's hopefully a call I didn't get wrong. It was delay a game, so if I didn't screw it up, I'm all right. The rules don't change. Ironically, they don't change that much. There's always adjustments. Probably what people see are we may change the interpretation of a rule. That's a foul. You do have certain years that there are some extremes in rule changes, i.e. this year. You know, with the new helmet rule, the guy leads you with his helmet now, that's going to be a foul. You know, every rule that they put in for player safety, you have to apply. That one's okay with the shoulder. When two people are coming together and they're both trying, one's going this way and one's going that way, and they're trying to do as much as they can, we're going to have a collision and things are going to come together. And that's what's hard for me to think about this rule is these guys are playing hard. They're playing football and they have a collision and heads hit. Maybe it was this guy, maybe it was that guy, but you have to do something. And if in your mind and the way that you interpret it, it was a foul, then you have to call it. But to me, it'd be a very difficult thing on this deal. But again, player safety, you can't argue with it.
So Bill officiated in the NFL, but don't call him a ref. Only one of the 7 officials out there on the field during the game is the referee. Bill, he was the back judge. Time for another opportunity for one of you to tell one of our neighbors you've crossed the line. Never imagined this is going to be so stinking popular. So we pick on trucks all the time. This is the smallest car ever featured on You've Crossed the Line. It's one of those smart cars. It's not a color-coded system, folks. Just because it's yellow doesn't mean that that's your space. Jeff Collins and his wife saw this outside of Starbucks in Fort Collins. Yeah, you crossed the line even in your tiny little car. Keep the photos coming. Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. Reading through a stack of your feedback on tonight's program, and it is clear that what you would like to talk about is positivity. Next. Your feedback tonight focuses on our decision to only highlight a portion of the Kavanaugh hearings, the portion that was new and about the accusation from Colorado. Toby's mad. Going to report on what Lindsay said during the hearing today. Not on your agenda. Just like the committee, you're a joke. All right, you're done, Toby. We're taking a different approach today. Carlene, appreciated, said thanks for being a voice of stability, sincerity, and sanity today. That also includes alliteration, which are also things that I like, Carlene. Stephanie appreciated that this was a program that she could watch with her 7-year-old, who had some very hard questions tonight. Michelle says, get yourself a news station that gives you a break from the normal by playing a serene video of changing aspens. The beautiful work of our photojournalist, Mike Grady, for which we're appreciative. The horns. Now RTD has heard you. They'll be giving you a break. Answering your next question about abandoned cars along Colorado's busiest highways. A town leader gets fired, but they didn't follow the rules, so he's back for the most awkward town meetings ever. A love story between a dog and a man who will do anything to keep his boy happy. And the brightest young face in Denver belongs to an even more captivating kid. That's next. Within the last 15 minutes, we have learned of 2 shootings involving officers in the Denver metro area that we need to tell you about, and we will continue to keep you updated on over the next 30 minutes. First happened not far from the Anschutz campus in Aurora. It happened at 19th in Peoria, and as a result, there are traffic slowdowns and shutdowns on Montview and Peoria, a very busy part of town. The warning has gone out to people on the Anschutz campus. And again, all we can tell you for certain at this point is it isn't a shooting that has involved Aurora police officers in the area of Montview and Peoria. The second shooting to tell you about involves Douglas County Sheriff's deputies. This is on Highway 85 at Delva Way. That is down near Sedalia. And as a result, Highway 85, the main route through there, is closed down. We're still waiting for additional information on what happened involving the shooting with officers there in Douglas County as well. We will keep you updated on both through the course of this program and throughout the evening on 9news.com and across the networks of 9 News. You thought the train horns along the G line were loud? Well, apparently your voices are louder. Loud enough that they got the attention of RTD leadership. They told our Steve Steger about the adjustments they're making.
We can modify that testing so that we don't have to operate in the very early and very late hour times.
And that point couldn't have come soon enough. RTD was getting slammed pretty hard by people who couldn't take it anymore.
We heard very loud and clear from residents along the line that the noise from the trains that have to blow their horns as they go through the grade crossings was disrupting them. And so we're really trying to take that into account.
Though admittedly, they may have had trouble hearing the complaints through the sound of train horns blaring down the line.
I've missed my alarm wearing earplugs for work.
You remember Kimberly Matuzek if you watched this show. Earlier this month, she told Marshall the horns blaring near her apartment along the line were keeping her up at night.
Well, I did call RTD and I left a message with them.
And apparently RTD heard that message loud and clear.
And we came to an agreement that we have seen enough progress with that extended testing period of time that we thought it made sense.
The agency says it will meet its required hours for testing during the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. The kind of thing that makes Kim go,
it's nice that enough people were able to voice their concerns or voice their opinions and that they held an open forum for us to be able to do that.
So while this is great for the eardrums, it's hard to tell what this might do for the schedule of starting service on the G line. You've got to wonder if the train horns tick people off this much during testing, might they also tick people off if the train started carrying passengers? That middle of the night testing was part of RTD's simulation of what is going to be the train's actual schedule. So will the train open without the quiet zones in place? RTD could not say for sure when I asked them today, Kyle.
Well, just when they have a solid handle on the A line, the train to the plane, now the G line's giving them fits.
You know, and I think if we call the A line the train to the plane, maybe the G line to Wheat Ridge, train to the grain?
I'm going to let the people weigh in on that. That might be too corny. Hashtag Hey Next. Let us know if Steve can call it the train to the grain. Thank you, Steve. Our next question comes from a viewer named Scott. Hey Next. Who removes dead cars from I-25? There's one sitting on southbound I-25 at 48th. Been there 6 days now. Scott, Colorado State Patrol says it starts with a 48-hour warning. They'll put a red tag on the vehicle, and we'll let Trooper Gary Cutler explain who's responsible for moving it after that.
So it really comes down to it's actually the owner of the vehicle, but if they don't do it, then we have the authority through legislation that we go ahead and remove it. And so what we do is we have towing companies that are assigned to us, that contract through us, and they'll go ahead and tow the vehicle, put it in their yard.
Anybody else mesmerized by the really nice potted plant over the trooper's shoulder? Anyway, CSB says after the vehicle's towed, they'll let the register owner know where to find it. They'll give you a time frame. If you don't pick it up on time, your vehicle can be processed to be sold. Trooper Cutler says at the end of the day, the drivers of abandoned vehicles along our interstates and highways are not ticketed. They just have to pay for the tow. It's robocall season. If you haven't started to get the annoying calls yet, you likely will soon from political parties and from volunteers asking you to vote for this candidate or that ballot initiative. You're thinking, I didn't sign up for this. You probably didn't. Campaigns can just get your number off the internet from all kinds of places. A reminder though, you can remove your phone number from one commonly used source, your voter registration. We've talked about this before. It's public information. You can take your number off on the Colorado Secretary of State's website. Everybody deserves a second chance, right? Maybe you've got a great story about a shot at redemption. Well, up in Frederick, they have quite the awkward second chance playing out in public. Because you see, town council fired the town manager this week, just bounced the dude. And then they found out they didn't really have enough votes to do that, so welcome back, buddy. Imagine walking into work around there. Our Marshall Zellinger's got the video.
This grainy video is from the Frederick Town Council. Sorry we weren't there with a better camera, but we didn't know what was about to happen, and half the board members tell me neither did they.
I'd like to make a motion to terminate the contract in which the town of Frederick holds with the town manager.
Without giving a reason, board member Rocky Figarelli requested the firing of Matt LaSurf, the town manager sitting right across from him. After a brief recess for the mayor to talk with the town attorney, the meeting continued.
We are not permitted at this point in open session to discuss Matt's performance.
So the board of 7 voted, except one was absent, and the mayor traditionally only votes to break ties.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown?
No.
Trustee O'Neill?
Yes.
Trustee Kreitz?
No.
Trustee Figarelli?
Yes.
Trustee DeSantis?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Freshly fired, LeSurf walks out. But this is a story about second chances, right? The board had to call an emergency meeting the very next day.
The vote that was taken to terminate the town manager's contract was 3-2, and based on Town Code 2-76, it's my opinion that 4 affirmative votes were necessary.
Yep. Town code specifically says to fire the town manager, you need the yes vote of a majority of the entire board. That's 4. So the town manager gets chance 2. That was the town attorney talking. One more wrinkle is that was an emergency meeting. You actually have to vote in public, so it's kind of dangling out there where the public can actually show up and hear that rescinding of the firing get voted one more time. Kyle, I reached out to every town councilman.
Yeah.
The only people I heard from the trustees were the ones that voted against it or weren't there, or the mayor. The people who supported it never got back to me, never even told me why.
That's why you check the rules, people, because you don't want to fire somebody and then have them come back to work. You know, check the rules. All right, Marshall, thank you very much. I want to give people an update on the situation in Aurora. This is at 19th and Peoria. We have learned that an Aurora Police Department officer was shot there this afternoon. That officer is expected to be okay. Montview and Peoria, busy time of day. This is right next to the Anschutz Medical Campus and UC Health over there as well. So there are road closures in the area. Stay clear. Expect delays if you got somebody coming through there tonight. Again, there was an officer shot in that area. Best information that we have from official sources is that that officer is going to be all right. Denver's anti-Olympics ballot initiative did not quite stick the landing, so it's being sent back to organizers to get reworded so that it complies with city law. It's a procedural hurdle, Olympics reference, for the people who want Denver's taxpayers to vote on whether they should use tax money for the Olympics. It is designed, this ballot initiative, to make it tough for the powerful backers of the Olympics to just skate through, Olympics reference, even if voters statewide reject the non-binding referendum that proponents will put up. Rocky Mountain Showdowns tonight. You know, CU versus CSU. We know this divides families and friends, but this is brutal. Look at these little guys. Cole Clements has the CU jersey on. Noel Pizzuto has the CSU jersey. Our friend Brenda Booth says Noah started crying when they went to take the picture, and that's when they knew they just had to share it with Next. But I promise you, Noah and Cole are friends. They are fine. Here they are in happier times. Say 0-0 scoreless in the first. Brenda says they're best friends when nobody's crying. Before the leaves turn to green and gold, you know much of Denver does. CU and CSU fans in their colors for the Rocky Mountain Showdown. And today on National College Colors Day, all those greens and gold rush past pockets of Nebraska red and Kansas blue, Michigan maize and ASU maroon. I put on my Ithaca College blue and yellow this morning, thinking not so much about my college days, but about my daughter's. So we set up her college fund last weekend. I mean, she's not even crawling, but we're thinking about college because that's what you're supposed to do. She'll be in the graduating class of 2040. Seems like forever, but I know it'll be tomorrow. I wonder which school she'll choose, whether she'll choose college at all. Wasn't so much a choice for me. I mean, I was the son of 2 teachers, both in the first generation of their families to ever go to college. So, I mean, I was going. But I told her the other day that she can go to college if she wants to. Told her that in the way that parents say things to kids when they think they're too young to remember and hold them to it. But on this College Colors Day, as we are surrounded by the hues of views from in-state and out, my hope for my daughter and the rest of the class of 2040 born this year is simply that they make choices that they want to wear proudly each fall as the leaves turn from green to gold. Some boom shakalaka tonight. Thunderstorms. Who do you think I was talking about? Our Bearify fact-check series about bears in Colorado might just turn into a thing because you guys sent us a bunch of stories. And murals are not just for famous faces, they're also for the not famous yet. We'll meet them next.